Welcome to another victory week for the Jaguars. What a game. What a time to get a W against the Houston Texans. You are listening to the Jag Bros. I am Joey, and I'm here with my two older brothers, Jack and JT. And it was a ugly game, but we still came out with a W. It was one that the Jaguars just don't normally win. Normally, when it's going like this, it just goes the opposite directions, and the Jags find a way to lose the game instead of finding a way to win the game. But we got the W. We sent our rivals home 0-3. We are 2-1, second in the AFC South. It is a great time to be a Jaguar.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. We finally snapped the streak. We got our first win in 8 tries at home against the Texans. We had lost 7 in a row. To the fact that we finally got that win, we were 2-14 against them in the 2-12 in them in the last 14 games. Whew, it feels good to finally beat the Texans and potentially be knocking them out of the playoffs in September. Wow.
Wow, absolutely. I am still speechless. It is a victory Monday. Joey, you called it. It was an ugly game, but it's a beautiful, beautiful win, and it's the best problems in the world to be fixing problems after a victory. The Jaguars are 2-1. The Texans are 0-3. The monkey is off the back. You finally defeated Houston. Man, oh man, after that missed fourth down and then the Texans are driving until that fumble by Nico Collins, I was like, here we go again. Deja vu. The Jaguars are going to blow another game, but no, this team has heart. This team has fire. I love the way Cohen came into the locker room after the win, firing everybody up. I haven't seen that level of energy by a Jags head coach in a long, long time, maybe ever. It is an exciting, exciting day in Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's a great call out, Jack. The vibes are very similar to when we made that historic playoff run the second half of the season back in 2021 with Doug Peterson as the first year coach. The vibes were high. Everybody was excited, but that was almost in spite of Doug Peterson's personality. Now I feel like it's because of Liam Cohen's personality, and it's a young team. It's a fun team. And look, we'll dive into it a little bit more as we go along. But what's incredible so far is all of our free agents are actually hitting, which is so exciting to me.
Well, that's a perfect time to start passing out some game balls because I think some of them are going to go to some of these new Jaguars. And so typically we give 3 offensive game balls and 3 defensive game balls, 1 from each of us. But you know what? The defense was so dominant. If you feel like double dipping on defense, that's going to be fine. But who wants to get us started passing out some game balls after the Jaguars win 17-10 on Sunday?
I'm going to go ahead and give out my first game ball to a guy who made a mistake and came back and made a play. Tyson Campbell biting on the double move by Nico Collins and just absolutely leaving him wide open for the touchdown. And then to come back pretty much the next drive, same player, Nico makes a catch. He's trying to get upfield, and you go ahead and strip the ball, saving the game and allowing the Jaguars to go down and score and put points up. It was huge. It was, I think, the play of the game to get that strip and make that fumble happen for the Jaguars. So my game ball is going to Tyson Campbell, who had a really good game other than one bad mistake, but didn't hang his head like the old Jaguars. Old Jaguars, you make a mistake, and that's it. They were done. He came back, showed that you can make it right, and made that strip, and it was awesome to see.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to keep the defensive game balls rolling. Again, just a phenomenal performance, especially from the secondary. So Campbell makes that huge forced fumble. Devin Lloyd picks it up. He deserves a ton of love. But I'm going to give it to another guy in the secondary, and that is Jourdan Lewis. Jourdan Lewis was fantastic. He had a huge tackle for loss in the first half, a massive interception, and then he almost had the game-winning interception there on the final drive as well. He was all over the field making big plays. And look, this Jaguars defense that only had 8 turnovers last year has already eclipsed that with 3 turnovers in all 3 games, 9 turnovers so far. But Jourdan Lewis, Jaguars captain already and making a massive difference in 3 games. And I'll just say it too. Look, the Cowboys secondary looks lost without him. So a massive addition for the Jags this offseason.
Absolutely. And I wanted to point out a play that a lot of people didn't see him make after Josh Hines-Allen knocks the ball out of CJ's hand to make it wobble. He sees that he's now able to tackle Christian Kirk, so he can't go and make a play on the ball, leaving it wide open for Antonio Johnson to make that interception. It's just a heads-up play, a veteran play, and a great signing that we had with Jourdan Lewis.
Man, you guys are burying the lead. Both those guys were excellent, or at least made excellent plays at some critical times. But the one guy who dominated the game on defense the entire time was Josh Hines-Allen. He was in the backfield. He was unstoppable. He looked every bit of the type of player you pay him to be. He had 8 pressures this game, a half a sack. He obviously tipped the play that ultimately led to the interception by Antonio Johnson. He also drew 3 or 4, I feel like, penalties. He were picking on that poor rookie left tackle over and over and over again. He was excellent. The announcers talked about him all game long. He was a one-man wrecking crew. And honestly, without his performance, I think we easily lose that game in a lot of different ways. I think he single-handedly made the Texans offense look horrible for 3/4 of that game.
He played incredible. And I want to give out a little unknown game ball to James Gladstone, who went out and cut Savage and allowed Antonio Johnson to play more. And then, hey, what do you know? He goes and gets the game-winning interception. Like, the heads up to get that done, to know that Antonio Johnson's ready to play. It was a great move, and I am loving the entire front office of the Jaguars.
That was such a cool moment. Gladstone, Tony Baselli, Cohen all celebrating as they were coming off the field. And speaking of Josh Hines-Allen, was also a special moment to see him and Trevor celebrate. It was an emotional victory just with that struggle. They're 2 of the guys that have been on the team the longest, that have struggled with Houston the most. And I'm going to give, as we switch over to offensive game balls, a surprising one. Look, a lot of Jags fans are upset at this guy, but Trevor Lawrence did not have the game of his life, but he played with a heart and a hunger and a leadership that I haven't seen a ton from him in the Jaguars uniform. He was up in the Texans' face after that De'Ami Brown hit and injury. And then on that last drive, the touchdown leading drive, it's a big 3rd and 6. The wide receivers have been dropping the ball left and right. Well, what does he do? He takes the game into his own hands, breaks a tackle, gets a massive first down, and then right after the 2-minute warning, earlier, Trevor talks about it later that he went and talked to BTJ after all the drops. He's like, man, stay in this game, stay focused. We're going to need you on a big play to set up the game-winning drive. That's the leadership that I need to see more and more from Trevor Lawrence. He brought it. We talked about it in a previous episode on what's going on, what's wrong with BTJ. And I said, Trevor Lawrence has to be the guy to fix this. The chemistry, the frustration, the drops. He's in his 5th year. He's the captain. He's the franchise quarterback. And it's stuff like that you don't see on the field that translates to on the field. It sets up nearly 50-yard reception from BTJ and a game-winning touchdown by Travis Etienne. Trevor Lawrence, it was not pretty like most of the offense, but he made the plays when it counted on that final drive. So my game ball goes perhaps a shocker, but a big game-winning drive from Trevor Lawrence.
Absolutely. I don't think Trevor Lawrence deserves the hate that he gets. He had one bad play, and that was the interception. That was not a good throw and not the right place to put it. But to have as many drops that his receivers were having, and I mean, they're in their hands, like in the chest. These are all good throws. And that has to like mentally like scar a quarterback to sit there, have your throw perfectly land in there, and then see the ball on the ground. But the ability to check the play, that was supposed to be a running play that threw BTJ all the way for 46 yards, but he checked out of it, saw the blitz. He's orchestrating this offense a lot more like a general, kind of looking like the olden times with Tom Brady, Peyton Manning's, where they're making checks at the line. He's really becoming a leader. And I think the more he gets throughout the season, the more confident he'll get. The catches will come. And I think that the sky's the limit right now for Trevor. And with that, I'm going to give it my offensive game ball to his rock steady, tied in Brenton Strange. All y'all were wrong. I told you he's going to be a solid tight end, a person you go to on third down and you always need a catch. The only guy who doesn't have a dropping problem right now. He is super solid, is laying people out. He's also catching the ball. He was the top receiver in the game this week. He is a focal point for Trevor. When things are going bad, go to Brenton Strange because he is there. He'll get you that 6 to 7 yards and he'll catch the ball.
Yeah, he certainly caught some. Joey, if you didn't give him the game ball, I was going to be forced to give it to him. He played excellent. I'm going to give my offensive game ball to Liam Cohen because I thought the game plan was solid. And look, I think we've seen enough Trevor now to know that he has limitations. I heard a stat that the Fantasy Footballers podcast shared last week saying that Trevor right now is second to last behind only McCarthy in making throws to receivers other than your first read. And so that's obviously an advanced stat, but it speaks to something that I think we've chronicled and others have chronicled as well. Trevor really struggles to read the field at times. And so making it simple for him is what Liam Cohen's been doing. And look, I mean, 20 of 40 for 222 in an interception. He wasn't excellent, but to your point, Jack, he did make some key plays. But I give Liam Cohen a lot of credit, and he made some transitions out of the half too. We saw a lot more running the ball. We saw some more safer plays. And if we didn't have as many drops as we had, I think we could be in a position where we could have scored 24 or 30 points again.
The halftime changes that he made were so important. He came out and talked about how Houston came out with defensive packages that they hadn't ever scouted or seen. And that's why we were running so poorly in the first half. But to go out, change it up, you saw he brought in the other tight ends to help block because they were going zero blitz. They were bringing everyone trying to get home against us. They were going to stop the run and make Trevor throw the ball. So to be able to see that, change it, and then we got over 70 yards in the second half on a hard defense to play against, I thought was an incredible coaching job to make that halftime adjustment and to see what's going on. That's something that we did zero of last year, made no adjustments. Hey, this isn't working. Well, we're just going to keep doing it until maybe it works. Like to know that it's not working, to make it change and make it work, it's great coaching.
Well, we always, man, it is so great to give shout outs and give celebration when the Jaguars win. And I want to give some of the fans a shout out as well because we just hit over 200 subscribers on Apple and Spotify. So if you haven't yet, it's been a minute since we've got to give a shout out for a 5-star rating and review. Go to Apple. I don't even care if you listen on Apple. Go to the Jag Bros. Give us a 5-star rating and review. We're going to give you a personal shout out with whatever you share in that review. And then, Joey, I think you've got a big shout out as well for another big fan of the Jaguars and the Jag Bros.
I do. I was at a wedding this weekend on Saturday. Met a fan named Bob Richmond. He was at the wedding. He was the father of the bride, and he was going around telling everyone about the Jag Bros, how they need to listen to us, that it's an awesome podcast. If you love anything about NFL or the Jaguars, you have to listen to the Jag Bros. So the fact that he's there at the wedding and he's promoting us, it was incredible. We wanted to make sure that we gave him a big shout out to Bob.
Thanks, Bob. Love the fans. Love it that we're global fans. We have people in Europe, people in Australia. A lot of folks are listening to Jag Bros regularly. But hey, guys, let's dive into the actual game itself. And so for today, we're actually going to start on the defensive side because the defense was significantly better than the offense in a lot of ways. Anthony Campanelli really putting on a masterclass performance. Like we've chronicled saying that this defense is flawed in some places and probably doesn't have the top end talent. But look, this is 3 weeks in a row that I feel like we've outperformed what we would have expected, minus the fourth quarter against Browning. But this defense is playing well, like at least average, which for us, we'll certainly take. We shut down the Texans for almost the entire game outside of a 50-yard pass to Nico Collins. They really struggled to move the ball on a down-to-down basis. They had very little success running the ball. Nick Chubb was their leading rusher for nine carries for 38 yards, but I do think he's probably a shell of his former self. We knew Nico Collins was going to get theirs because the lead wide receiver typically gets it against Campbell, unfortunately. But I mean, how good is this Jaguars defense, or is this a situation where you felt like the Texans offense was just poorly coordinated?
Definitely both, which you love to see. Look, I'm just going to be real. The Texans are in where the Jaguars were last season. And we talked about in the preview, if the Jaguars find a way to win, the Texans are in free fall. 0-3, major questions. They have a new offensive coordinator. They have not looked good in any of their first 3 games. And there's going to be big questions because the reality is if you take away that one blown coverage, yes, it was a big play, but it was also a momentum play right after the interception where they get great field position. The Texans only have 3 points where they got the ball a ton. They had great field position several times and just could not convert. In fact, the Texans still have 0 touchdowns in the red zone. That was one of our keys of the game. If you can force them to get field goals instead of touchdowns, you should be very good in this game. But you also have to give the Jags defense a massive ton of credit because you showed up in a rivalry game where the Texans were hungry, the Texans were desperate. This was their supposed to be get right game. They feel like, hey, we always have the Jags number. Stroud's going to come out hot, and he just didn't. The Jags defense played phenomenal. JT, you gave your game ball to Josh Hines-Allen. He was great. Trayvon Walker played very well on the other side, making disruptive plays. He had a sack in the second quarter. We got after CJ Stroud. We attacked their weakness, which was their offensive line, and we were able to limit their big playmakers. So hats off to the defense. Again, 3 turnovers was fantastic and won the game for us there at the very end.
Yeah, look, their offensive coordinator is a guy by the name of Nick Caley. He's making his first ever offensive coordinator. Before that, he was the Rams passing game coordinator and tight ends coach. He's a longtime tight ends coach under the Patriots. So he's got a pretty good coaching tree, but he's not actually been calling plays. And if I were a Texans fan right now, I'd be losing my mind because there's too much talent on that team to be putting up very poor performances offensively. And I do think one of the calibers of one of the litmus tests of are you a good coordinator is can you score in the red zone? Because ultimately you're going to have to scheme up some points and some plays to be able to do that. And they're not very well coordinated. They don't seem to be calling the right plays at the right time. And look, Jacksonville just pretty much threw a fastball at them with Josh Hines-Allen in the pass rush, and they couldn't figure out a way to avoid that. And maybe it's because their limited running game. But look, man, there's enough talent on that team for them to be doing a lot better than what they put out on the field.
Crazy. They fire Bobby Slowick after making the playoffs 2 seasons in a row, and then go get a guy who's unproven as a play caller for the OC. I think that was a pretty dumb mistake on their part. This defense has been so good. I love Anthony Campanelli. I think he has been an incredible addition. Talk about a good hire. He's brought us back to turnovers. 3 turnovers in the 3 games, 9 in total, more than all we had last year. I want Ryan Nielsen to write us an apology for how bad of a DC he was last year. He made us all question a lot of these players on defense's ability to play. And hey, guess what? They actually aren't as bad as they played. Josh Hines-Allen is a star. Trayvon Walker is a star. Foye Oluokun is a middle linebacker and is a star. Devin Lloyd is starting to look like a star, having a breakout season. I wouldn't mind if you go ahead and re-sign him now because the way he's looking, yes, he's going to be expensive now because he's looking like a great linebacker.
He's everywhere.
I know.
I was watching him a couple games ago. I was like, who is this Zero? He's everywhere. That's like, oh, that's
Agent
Devin
Zero.
Man,
he redeemed Zero from Gabe Davis last year.
Yeah, no kidding. He's the eraser.
No, he's come and molded Devin Lloyd into an actual great linebacker. He was a linebackers coach for Miami and then a linebackers coach for the Green Bay Packers and then to come be a DC here. He has done an incredible job. And then I loved hearing Liam Cohen say He was freaking out on the last drive. It started to feel like the last game. And Anthony was like, hey, calm down. We got this.
We
That
got
was
this.
so awesome. And then they do get this. They get another turnover. What a great job Anthony Campanelli has done with this defense.
That's such a great point, Joey. Anthony Campanelli is everything we hoped and were promised in Ryan Nielsen last year. Ryan Nielsen was supposed to be this hyper aggressive, go downhill and attack defense. And then we just got gashed. Last place in pretty much every secondary stat. We had the weird hockey rotation lineups where our star players and Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker are not on the field. They're playing rock, paper, scissors of who should be on the field. Where Campanelli has truly brought a fire and intensity that, yes, I don't think the secondary is going to be top 10 or even maybe top 15, but they limit the big plays other than the one. But, the Texans had 10, 11, 12 drives, and really every catch completion they had, someone was on them within a step. Even with the Texans having a lot of talent at wide receiver and tight end, the Jags defense was all over them. They played aggressive. They bait them. They wanted them to make big plays. They blitzed. They were aggressive in that front four, that defensive line. Hey, we even had a pretty good interior pass rush in this game as well. Armstead didn't have an amazing game, but had a good game, which for the Jags defensive tackle, that is a big win. So all around, just a phenomenal game. You can't tip your hat off enough to the Jags defense. They won this game and they carried the offense. And it's so good to see, hey, when the offense is down, the defense is going to step up, make plays, and win. Where, again, last year was the opposite. You need offense and defense to work together, and we saw that on Sunday, and it's something exciting and it's something new in Jacksonville brewing.
Jacksonville leads the league with 9 turnovers, Joey. You're absolutely right. But look, they're also missed tackles. They're missed tackles. They're a top 5 team right now in missed tackles for defense. Like just a lot of different categories outside of maybe penalties. Our defense is playing really well,
which is just so different than last year, which it felt like the entire defense was on their heels, always moving backwards, always just letting them gash us. I mean, remember how long every drive was? It'd be the first play and they drive it down the field. 18 plays. It would be like almost a first whole quarter, and we were just always on our heels, always giving up plays. Not this year. Downhill, making tackles, not missing tackles, wrapping up. Really great to see. And honestly, you say this secondary may not be that great. I think it can be. I mean, he has Eric Murray and Andrew Wingard looking like real starting safeties. Travis Hunter is becoming a very good corner, locked down. People aren't talking about him because, hey, guess what? Because what do you mean, He's not getting targeted because he's locking them down. Watch it, and he is always sticky on the wide receivers. They are never open. He is very good.
He was targeted a lot in the Bengals game, and even in the Texans
wasn't targeted
game,
that much. He was targeted 3 times. No, he wasn't.
He wasn't on the field all the time. So, I mean, look, Travis Hunter's played fine, but like he's not been anything special in my mind on either side of the ball yet. Except for he had that amazing play on 2nd and 20 where he got 21 yards, but he had 2 total targets. Like, I don't know if that's because he's not in the game plan offensively. And then defensively, they did target him in the Bengals game a few times, and he played fine. But there's nothing right now that I've seen that's like, oh man, this guy's super special on both sides of the ball, at least yet.
You're like every other person out on the internet right now that has Travis Hunter hate, and it's
not Travis
unreal.
Hunter hate.
No, it is because he has been a moment away from being the number 1 rookie. He had a 70-yard bomb touchdown that was taken away from him by an incredible safety move by Horn and a little underthrown ball by Trevor. He also has the game-winning saving pass deflect and then gets called on a PI that was total bogus. And then he's locked down the entire Houston team, and you didn't see him because they didn't throw it to him. And they didn't target him that much against the Bengals. Guess what? He only gave up like 8 yards and 3 catches. That's incredible for a cornerback, a rookie cornerback at that. Like, what else do you want from him? It's not his fault that they're not drawing up plays for him on the offense because they haven't really needed it. But now that De'Ami Brown is hurt, I believe that they will draw up a lot more plays for him. He does need to know the offense a little bit better. He has had issues of lining up or doing the right thing at the right moment, but I think he's going to get there and he's going to be lights out once he is featured more. We
The
haven't
reason why
needed to feature him as much. Give him a break. It's been 3 games.
I'm not saying he's a buster. I'm not saying any of those things. All I'm saying is like I haven't seen anything. He hasn't made a ton of positive impact. Let me put it this way. He has not made a ton of positive impacts on the games at any point thus far this season. He's been close. He certainly made a ton of negative ones with the 14 or whatever illegal shifts that we had a couple weeks ago. And then the pass interference, maybe it wasn't his fault, but it was against him. So look, look, I'm far closer to your side of this argument than somebody else, Joey. But at this point, he has not made a ton of positive impact plays. Now it's early in the season. There's plenty of rookies that take a little bit of time to adapt and to grow into those roles. And so, look, we might not be having this discussion at all in 3 weeks. And he certainly looks better when touching the ball than Brian Thomas Jr. right now. So, yeah, I'm not concerned, but I'm not saying that he's been a quote unquote difference maker at this point on either side of the ball.
I think it's important to note here. So Hunter's trying to do something that's never been truly done in NFL history. So we're 3 weeks in, and kind of what we've seen is week 1 was very good on offense. He had 30 to 40 receiving yards. And you're right, Joey, was one play away from a massive, massive play. But then he kind of, the last 2 games, which I've always thought he's better at corner. Look, he learned under a Hall of Fame primetime Deion Sanders. And the last 2 games, he's been very good. I just pulled it up. It felt like maybe that way, JT, but he only gave up 1 catch that he was specifically targeted in the Bengals game. He did look very good. He gave up a couple in this game, but to your point, Joey, every time it was a catch, it was a big tackle. But now offensively, he doesn't have as much of an impact because they wanted to feature Parker Washington. The double wide receiver cornerback hasn't hit yet on both ends, but there's no reason to, Jags fans are going to freak out about everything. NFL fans are going to freak out about everything. He's been good with the potential is what is exciting for Travis Hunter. And the sky is the moon for Travis Hunter. We haven't seen it yet, but one of these games, we're going to see a game where he gets a touchdown and gets an interception in the same game, and people are going to lose their mind because I can't imagine this happened but maybe 1 or 2 times in NFL history.
I think, look, I completely agree with your side and with your take there, Jack. And look, Travis Hunter is a good transition now to the offensive side of the ball, where we weren't perfect. Trevor was 20 of 40 for 222 and a pick. We did score 17 points, and it's nice and refreshing when you don't play perfect and you still score 17. Boy, sometimes when Jacksonville doesn't play perfect in the past, it's like we score 7, we score 6. So that is refreshing. I mean, we can start on the negative sides. Trevor, Brian Thomas Jr., and then 1 catch for Travis Hunter. What's going on with the offense, and what would you like to see change moving forward as well?
Well, absolutely. I think the change is we got to get Travis Hunter involved more. 2 targets is just absolutely ridiculous, especially when you see how dynamic he is once the ball is in his hands. The shimmy shakes, the jukes, always looking to get more yards. He's dynamic, and he is a spark that this offense could really use. And especially with De'Ami Brown, that looked like a pretty bad injury. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near ready to come back for the next week. You got to get him more involved in the offense. I don't know if it's make some more plays for him or call some easier ones that he knows, because it's obvious that he's still learning this playbook and makes a few lineup adjustment mistakes. But you got to make him more involved in this offense. It will help BTJ, I think, so that way he's not the prime focal. There'll be another person. And then also helps out kind of just everyone if you can bring another player and a spark and someone with really good hands. He's not known for having drops. He never dropped the ball in college. So I really think that would be a huge spark for this offense, is to get him more involved.
Look, Joey, you're forgetting your favorite player, Big Tim Patrick, with that big catch for 16 yards, one target. I think now that to your point, I think De'Ami Brown will be out for a little bit of time, which is a shame because he played well. Let's get Tim Patrick out there. I'd love to see him. He's a big body receiver, somebody that can catch the ball over the middle and is not going to shy away. And look, sometimes Trevor does throw it up in the air in the middle, and I trust Tim Patrick to come down with it. So I'd love to see him worked in a little bit more into the offense as well.
I love that if it's a high Trevor throw, it's almost impossible to overthrow him because he is all of 6'5". I do really like him. He's a very solid wide receiver, and I think he'll get a lot more playing time with De'Ami out.
And don't forget, look, the Texans are coached by DeMeco Ryans, who is a
very good defense.
Top 3 defensive coordinator. The 49ers have never been the same. This was a must win. Houston Texans, I thought, really played a beautiful game plan against the Jags, that they almost took away all of the running back screen game that Liam Cohen was known for with Tampa, and something you try to get going. Look, LaQuint Allen had 1 catch for 9 yards, and that was on a long 3rd down play that didn't go for a first down. And other than that, you had Travis Etienne was 0 and Bashal Tootin was 0. Boy, that's a staple of the Jacksonville offense. And that was a really, really nice game plan by the Texans, and probably a level of defensive coordination that we will not see for quite some time.
Well, you asked for the solution for the Jags offense. The reality is it's simple. You've got to go get every single wide receiver and just practice the jugs machine all morning, all afternoon, all night, because it wasn't just Brian Thomas Jr. And look, he was bad enough to the point where he drops that easy 3rd down catch. People are booing. You can just see it in the body language. But Parker Washington had a bad game of drops as well. He had 2. I believe Brian Thomas Jr. had 3. And then there was another one. So 6 drops is just unacceptable. And if I'm the wide receiver coach for the Jaguars, I am practicing those guys all week, because right now it's looking like every wide receiver on the Jags roster has taken at least a half step, if not for Brian Thomas Jr., like 10 steps backwards. So practice, catch the ball. Because the wide receiver position, it is a challenging one. In one situation, you've got to be very athletic. But the reality is your responsibilities are pretty simple. You've got to be able to run block. You've got to be able to get open and catch the ball and then go move with the ball after. Like, it's really one of those 4 things. And right now, the Jaguars wide receivers are not catching the ball. And yes, Trevor's had some bad, some misplaced throws, but pretty much every drop was right on the money, like right on the chest, right in the hands. So the solution is simple. Can they make it happen? They need to. That's got to be priority number 1 for Cohen and the whole Jags offense, is, hey, we got to catch the football. Vince Lombardi, the first practice every season, would grab a football and say, this is a football. We'll do that with the wide receivers. Hey, this is a football. You've got to catch it, and do it all week.
Hey, he better turn that machine up to 12, because Trevor loves to rocket these balls.
He does.
And the nice thing about that big 50-yard pass to Brian Thomas Jr. at the end of the game, it looked like he took a touch off of it. And so maybe Liam Cohen can work on Trevor not just firing it at these guys every time.
Yeah, drops are a contagious disease, as we saw literally last game. BTJ had it first, and then it hit Parker Washington, and then it hit ETN. Once you kind of see it happen, you start to freak out, and you're like, it can't happen to me, and then you overthink it, and then it happens to you. I played wide receiver from middle school into a little bit of high school. And yeah, once you kind of see that other people are dropping it, it's very easy for you to all of a sudden catch that disease. But I have a out of the box way to change this offense. Someone posted this on Twitter or X. We need to fire Shane Waldron. Everywhere he has gone, he has been a huge curse for wide receivers. He leaves the Rams. Cooper Kupp had his instant breakout, won the Triple Crown. He leaves Seattle. Jackson Smith and Jigba, instant breakout. He leaves Chicago. Rome Odunze, all of a sudden, breakout. He joins Jacksonville. BTJ, instant regression. I don't know if that has any merit, but he has had really bad issues other places. I was never happy with that hire. And now that we're having this issue, begs the question, is he the problem?
Yeah, look, he's misaligned. I mean, he's maligned everywhere he goes. Well chronicled. I agree with you, Joey. That is, of all of the staff hirings, that's the one that's most head scratching. Hopefully, that doesn't come back to bite us too bad. And I think Liam Cohen has final say in a lot of this stuff, and maybe he's just buddies with Liam Cohen. There certainly has been regression in the passing game, despite the fact that Trevor has taken steps forward.
Yeah, I think the only other thing to highlight on offense from my point of view is the offensive line played an up and down game. You gave up 2 sacks. They obviously struggled to get the ball going in terms of on the ground, and you had, I think, 2 holdings throughout the game. But again, this is where, to your point earlier, JT, it was clear this was what the Texans wanted to do. They wanted to ruthlessly and relentlessly attack the run. It's going to be the game plan, I think, for the 49ers against the Jags. That we were not able to run the ball at all until the fourth quarter. They wanted to get after Trevor, and the offensive line played all right. Again, they didn't lose this game where the Texans offensive line probably did. So I think still a positive sign overall, 3 games in for the offensive line, much, much, much better than last year. And but this was the toughest defensive line we've clearly played up to this point.
I give the offensive line more credit than you, Jack, because they were blitzing a ton and they were still giving Trevor enough time to get rid of the ball. The running was difficult, but you also have Cleveland, who barely even practiced because he was just coming off of an injury. The offensive line could have been better, yes, but you also were going up against a blitz package that you had never seen before, with Liam Cohen talking about what the Houston Texans put in. They were, I mean, if you watch, they were loading that box up.
Yes.
And you were still able to give Trevor time to throw the ball and in the second half get some yards on the offense. So I don't blame them in any part of what they did last week.
Completely agree with you, Joey. I think the offensive line might actually be a top 10 offensive line in the NFL this year. They've looked good now against some pretty stout opponents. And yes, Houston, they were daring us to pass. I think the reason why we passed so much in the first half is not because that's what Liam Cohen wanted to do. I think that's what the defense was dictating him. They were daring us to pass, and we just weren't being able to take advantage of that, even when Stingley went out. And look, it's the right game plan. Trevor struggles under pressure. What do? They pressure him on obvious downs. Liam Cohen loves to throw short screens and give his playmakers a chance to make plays in space. And Houston had been gashed on the run, so you think that this is going to be a great time to run the ball. And they completely pivoted their game plan. It was brilliant. If you're a Houston, look, there's nothing D'Amico Ryans did wrong with the game plan. It was just we made one big play and one big catch, and our defense held at the last time. One last thing I want to talk about before it's over is, what were your thoughts on ETN scoring the touchdown there? Should he have needed at the 1? What was your thoughts there?
Yeah, I'd actually love to talk about this. I thought ETN did the exact right thing. You got to go score. Our offense was not playing well enough to need at the 1. It's tied. You kind of do that if you're already winning. And even if you need it, they had 2 timeouts. They were getting the ball no matter what with about 50 seconds. I think Houston made a huge mistake by letting us score. We haven't gotten into the end zone, other than the only time we scored was when we had a pass interference that put us on the 1. Like, our offense struggled to even get a first down, and you have 2 timeouts. And if you made us kick a field goal, then all you have is 50 seconds. You can go get a field goal to tie this game up. And your offense is struggling so much that the only time you score is on a blown coverage. You were betting too much on the offense. You're giving too much credit to your offense that they were going to go down and drive down the field and score a touchdown other than allowing a field goal.
Completely well said. There's 2-minute timeout. We have the ball on the 10-yard line. They have 2 timeouts. Even if we run the ball right in the middle for 3 times in a row and force them to use timeouts, they are getting the ball back with 1-10, 0 timeouts, and a chance to win the game. And, oh, by the way, if you make Trevor throw the ball, how often times have we seen through the years where Trevor still throws interceptions in the red zone? and when the game's on the line. Yeah, I absolutely would have made them earn that. I thought like the only mistake I thought D'Amico Ryans did was letting us score that touchdown. That was horrible for them. That was ETN. You saw like, oh wait, should I need it? No, he shouldn't have. He should have absolutely taken what the defense gave him there.
Coach Cohen talked about it after the game. That was the game plan. The reality is, too, all this is happening in real time. This is post 2-minute warning. So the Jags still have 50, 60 yards to go. People talked about, should Brian Thomas Jr. made sure he got down and bound? Of course, but you're not rehearsing that because it's a tie game. You're not rehearsing, hey, if you go get a 50-yard reception, drop down inside the 10. You're just trying to get points. You're trying to take the lead. You're trying to take the game. I liked it from the Jags. And look, the reality was the Jags defense was playing phenomenal. Why would you not trust the defense to go win the game for you? And obviously they did. So 2020 hindsight proved ETN, proved Coach Cohen, proved the Jags to be right. And I really don't think it was a bad call by the Texans, but I'm not going to argue one way or the other on that.
I feel like D'Amico Ryan literally just had this happen to him against Tampa, and he's like, oh, this is my chance to do it. I'll let them score, and I'll show them that I can drive down the field. But the issue was Tampa was still moving the ball back there. Like,
yeah,
you have a quarterback that you trust in Baker Mayfield. I don't know if I trust CJ Stroud right now. Definitely don't trust that offensive line to hold up. It's like, it's just way too messy, and your defense was your star, and you took them off the field too early.
I think the reality is once BTJ gets that ball inside the 10 and it's 1st and goal, the win percentage of that game for the Jags is like 95%. So, I mean, you can critique what he should have done, but the reality is you've got like a 5% shot of winning this game. So that did not lose Houston the game. What lost in the game was 5 3-and-outs and 3 turnovers on the offense.
Oh, yeah. And all 3 turnovers were in the 4th quarter, by the way, exactly when the Jaguars needed it. So another shout out to the defense. We're not going to sit here, and that's for Houston to figure out what to do. They're 0-3. They have to do the what ifs, maybes, if only we had changed this. Well, hey, guess what? We are 2-1. Pretty much should have been 3-0. And we can go now face off against the Colts. They should be 2-1. They got handed the game against the Broncos. But let's go ahead and start wrapping this one up, and we start looking towards the 49ers next week.
Yeah, good point, Joey. Make sure you hit subscribe. Big matchup in San Francisco. They are undefeated, but not a pretty undefeated. The Jaguars are 2-1, a play away from 3-0. So should be a big showdown. Again, hit subscribe if you're on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. It's an exciting time in Jacksonville. It is time to jump on the Jags and the Jag Bros bandwagon. Choo-choo all the way to the top, and let's close it out as we always do. Duuuval.